for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for about an hour. We have people come jump in from all around the country over on gunchannels.com. Community we built about 5 years ago now. Well, it is 5 years ago now. And people get together, they chat about guns, they share their content and stuff they're creating, we collaborate and whatnot. And one of the things we do is have conversations. We try not to be led by news of the day. So on Fridays, we usually talk about the industry and technology. So tonight we're going to be talking about the best gun accessories of 2018, as well as when you get a new gun, what do you do with it? So if we got routines or traditions, stuff that we do to our guns, then we can talk about that. Otherwise, though, we try to make this an effort in interactive participation. So we run this on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. And we're watching the conversations from Gun Channels and over on the YouTube side from the people that are part of the show and part of this conversation. So I didn't even introduce everybody yet tonight, did I? So Cycle Camp's jumping in from Connecticut. Thanks for joining.
Hi there. Exhausted from trying to move snow for many hours and burned out one snow blower and had to go to the backup. But other than that, I'm doing okay.
Right on. Well, thanks for joining us. I pretty much know how you feel as far as dealing with weather. Today I went out to go get some stuff at the mailbox, and I wasn't sure if I should wear a windbreaker or not. And I ended up wearing a windbreaker, and I regretted it because it was a little uncomfortable. I was a little bit warm. So I can understand what it's like to have to deal with weather. Dead Horse jumping in from Utah. Thanks for joining.
Howdy.
Oh, we got Gary jumping in from Kansas.
Hello, thanks for the invite.
You bet. I thought I invited everybody. I sent some of you guys an invite right at the last minute here. Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Yep, thank you.
We at the gym right now still?
Yes.
Walk to that gym or you drive to that gym?
I'm a lazy ass, so I drive.
Hey, we got Dog jumping in from Nevada. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm down here in Tucson. So we got a couple of the links out there, people that join us on the Gun Channel side. If somebody's interested in jumping into the panel discussion, let us know. Otherwise, we'll dig in. Not weather shaming. I just think that's funny to talk about you guys' shitty weather, because at times when I have shitty weather, I don't get any kind of, I just get grief because people say, hey, you got good weather half the time.
That is true, because when it's 120 down there, we say, well, we'll just turn the air conditioning on.
Yeah, or you think about now and don't care about when it's hot down here. But anyway, who cares? It's just weather. But no, it sucks. I don't have to deal with dragging shit around. That's one of the reasons I left, though, because I hated shoveling all winter and mowing all summer. But we'll move on. So best gun accessory of 2018. The year's not quite over. We'll still have the, what's it called? The National Association Sporting Goods Wholesalers show is coming up. Did that already happen? That already happened. So yeah, we don't have anything. We have SAR show coming up in the beginning of December, but nothing really debuts at SAR show that I'm aware of. So until SHOT Show, nothing's new on the manufacturer's front. So looking back at 2018, has there been a best accessory? Not a gun, but a best part of it.
Right. Well, why don't we go through the panel? Because each one of us does something slightly different than the other for the most part.
Right on. So Cycle, got something that you'd like this year?
I think the coolest accessory I've seen for firearms this year is the training stuff where you can use like an iPhone and you get an insert for your gun and you can do dry fire practice. just using a laptop or an iPhone or that kind of thing. I think that's a great way to, for people to practice their trigger discipline and make sure they're not moving the firearm and all that kind of stuff. And I think they've made some really good strides on that stuff. So I was pretty impressed with that.
Right on. Dead Horse?
Uh,
Do you even look at
AR pistol braces?
accessories?
Yeah, AR pistol braces, and I don't even think it matters whichever one you like. But there's so many of them out there now, and so many different choices and possibilities of neat pistol braces that have just opened up the possibilities to AR pistols. That I definitely think that this last year for AR pistol braces has been absolutely just fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's got to be a good one because that's got to be keeping the industry going, keeping sales going. There's no reason not. I mean, unless you're poor, there's no reason not to be building a couple of AR pistols. It's so awesome, so many possibilities, like you're saying.
Oh yeah, and plus, they have affordable pistol braces that are $30 too. You know what I mean? And it really opens up the possibilities of an AR pistol where you can just do a lot more with that gun now.
Gary.
Well, other than what Cycle mentioned, I don't want to be repetitive. So the only other thing I can think of is I've seen these things that clip on the inside of a pocket, but they magnetically attach to a pistol magazine to where you can easily store those in your pocket, and enough of them sticks up to where you can grab it and pull it out. Those look like a good thing to have. I don't own any, but I'd like to.
My concern with them is the same as with the gun magnets, that I get too much metal lint and metal shavings around that I don't want my mags getting all magnetized.
That's probably a good point.
But does that, they hold the magazine via magnet and then the clip just holds the magnet to your pants?
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I know there's a clip and a magnet
Yes.
both involved.
I have one of
that's
those.
basically how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I was using mine tonight.
And then that way, if you need staples or paper clip, you got it right there too.
Mm-hmm.
Thumbtack. All right. So is that you're going to copy off of Gary? Is that yours, Dan?
Oh no, I've got my own. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to agree, but slightly vary everything that Dead Horse said. I agree that the changes in the pistol braces has completely changed the AR pistol as far as its life and what it can do. And I think the price point, the one that I'm thinking in particular, is the one that comes with its own pistol tube and actually locks in numerous positions, so that it also meets those states that have a overall length requirement for pistols, like Michigan. It fits that requirement as well as far as keeping overall length in check and keeping it a pistol. And the model I'm thinking of is the one you can get it on sale for about.
SDA3?
Yes. It's by far, of the two that fulfill that same function, it's by far dramatically less cost. And cost does matter. The MSRP is about $150. I got mine from Brownhouse on sale for about $99. The other one, same company, different model, is like $270 retail. And again, you can get that on sale, but it's literally over twice the cost, or about twice the cost. And it is also.
Dano got popped.
I got sick of hearing Dano, so I kicked him out of here. Doug, you got one?
I don't have one particular item, but to me this year I've noticed that there are so many more holster makers, especially with the Kydex market, and even the affordable holster makers have really upped their game this year, and I've just brought that whole thing into a much more affordable category. And you can get, any cant you want, any fit you want. That's been what I've found most interesting this year.
Dano must have walked into a different cell tower.
Can you guys hear me?
Did you walk into a different cell tower, Dano?
No, I was just on I just lost my signal. I'm literally in the same treadmill. Anyway, you guys basically got the gist of what I was trying to say.
Pink, what do you got?
Okay.
Probably the how they're I don't know, the folding AR accessories. I mean, now they're even starting to fold the barrel of the rifle to where it fits even into a smaller package. But how they're going from folding stocks to now folding barrels, making things smaller.
Yeah, well, when you start with a platform that has a ridiculous barrel extension, or I mean a receiver extension, then you got to fold the barrel.
Yeah.
You're short. But yeah, didn't start with a crank. You got to start with an AR. You got to do stuff like that. I've seen them where they take it off. I haven't seen one fold. Is there a folding barrel?
Oh yeah. Shoot, what's the one company that Deadfoot Arms? They now have a folding barrel locking system for it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the wood accessories for the whatever the firearms are called that are 12 gauge firearms that aren't shotguns and they're not SBSs, right? So TAC 14 and the Shockwave, they both came out with wood. I think it was this year I first started seeing the wood, but they look badass.
Oh yeah, like I think a company, their name's a Vector. I want to say it's Vector Arms. They make a really nice maple set, even for the new TAC 13, which is the semi-auto like TAC 14 from Remington, right? And there are like so several companies are making different wood furniture for them now, and yet like there you can get some really nice wood furniture, and I like that that kind of classic look. I think it looks really classy. Like that's what literally that's what made me want one of those little firearms is the wood furniture.
Is this what you were talking about with the folding AR? The XAR, an active folding rifle model?
Yeah, you just throw a lever and the whole barrel swings to the side.
Yeah.
Is that from Deadfoot or?
I found this on FD Defense.
Let's see, I'm going to their site now.
It's a $1,200 AR, but still, that's pretty cool. I see it folds right there at the front of the receiver. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. It folds up and can fit in a little box like that. That is awesome.
Well, I think it's also if I don't know if it's that exact company's one, but like the one of the ones I saw, it's quick release too, so the barrel can actually come off, and then you just slap on a whole new barrel and handguard, and like you're good to go in a different caliber, you know. So it makes like caliber changes like really fast.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's partnered with Fold AR. Company's called Fold AR.
All right. So anybody have any other stuff?
Nope, and nobody's saying anything in the chat. Well, I didn't ask you guys if you guys didn't have anything else, but nobody's saying anything in the chat, so we'll move on, I guess. That's all the best accessories for 2018. Welcome. If you want to buy them, go over to Gun Channels. There's some links down the left-hand side there for the different stores. And then we get a juicy 10%. No, actually 5% cut usually. All right, so new gun. You buy a new gun. What do you do with it? You got any rituals, traditions?
Play with it.
I buy a box of ammo and immediately go to the range.
Deep Go ahead, Gizzard.
Take it apart, clean it, kind of get get an idea how everything goes together and everything. I usually do that before I ever take it to the range.
Yeah, no, I'm too much like a kid at a store. I get the gun, I have to fire it.
Yeah, I typically field strip them and just make sure they're lubricated properly before I take them to the range. But other than that, I'm with Dog. The whole point of getting a new gun is to go make bang bang and put holes in things. So, right after I decide that okay, I run out there and try to put some rounds through it. I will admit there are a couple guns that I own that I haven't even shot yet, but they're kind of weird guns, and so they're not. I'm not real interested in getting out there. But if it's a handgun, I'm certainly out at the range with it. If it's a long gun, it depends on when I next have a match or something where I might be able to use it.
G, how about you?
I haven't bought a new gun for use in a while, but I'll do probably the same thing as you guys said. Just go shoot it a bunch, make sure there's no broken metal parts in it that got past quality. That's about it. But I probably have more guns, like Cycle said, that I've never shot than most people probably have. I was just thinking that as he said that. I have a bunch of guns that I've never shot and have no interest in shooting. So it probably depends on the gun, right? And if you're a collector, probably going to have maybe a different ritual for putting stuff up, lubricating it and cleaning it or whatever, and putting it away nice.
Oh, if it's a show piece, I bought it without the intent of ever actually using it. Like if it's like a real old classic, then yeah, it's go home and oil it down and pick a place on the wall.
All right. Anybody else want to throw anything else in there?
On a lot of my rifles, I like to get the barrel real hot. Not like super like glowing red hot, but I like to get it, hot. And the first time out to break in the barrel, I don't do that, one shot, run a patch and a brush. Like, no, I go out and use a good, nice, copper projectile and blend that copper into the steel of the barrel, get it nice and hot. That's my break-in process. So.
What are you talking about, on pistols or on rifles?
On rifles. On pistols, I just go out and shoot them just to see if they work, But on a rifle, I like to get that barrel actually hot and use a nice, copper projectile and infuse that copper into the steel of the barrel, and that's my break-in process.
I like to, if I'm buying a new shotgun, I like to go out to the range and set up a target at 150 and 25 yards so that I can start to gauge it at each of those distances with slugs. But if it's a handgun, I don't bother with that much.
All right. Well, I think we took care of that. Now, if some new gun owner listens to this show, they'll be like an expert. I thought I had a gun shop for the day. I guess I didn't. So why don't we leave this one up to Pink? It's been a while since you gave us a gun shop. One of the reasons we do this show on the daily so we can talk about a new gun shop every day.
New gun shop. I'm going to say Phoenix Tactical. Let me pull it up here. The new one around here that just opened shop.
Just opened or reopened?
Just open. He used to be a home FFL, and he actually got his storefront.
Well, I can't find a website, but I found Phoenix Tactical in Ohio here on Google.
Oh, did you? Yep.
Oh, there it is. Standalone little shop.
Yeah,
There's
he's
Dutch.
pretty much big in the. He does a lot of used guns too.
It's awful quiet.
Yeah, we're looking at this shop.
Looking at the pretty pictures of that new shop.
Yeah, he's. I know he just started selling the Black Rifle coffee and all the stuff like that.
How old is the shop? Pretty recent, you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the inventory looks like a lot of AR-15s and stuff.
Yeah, he was. I know he was always bragging about like when that thing in Florida happened, and they were talking about the 18, 19, 20-year-olds shouldn't have rifles. He was on Facebook saying, if you're 18, 19, 20, come on in.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he does have a large used gun category also.
I mean, that's a good thing. It's nice when you go into a place and maybe you can't afford that brand new gun, but you can get something nice that's been used.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, a lot of pictures on here too. Damn. Not too many of the shop, mostly guns and stuff.
He's a van guy. He's got a van. He's your people, G.
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, there is a van in the parking lot, yes. Right on. So looks like it's every day 10 to 8, Saturday 10 to 4, and then closed on Sunday.
Yep.
We aim to please. Very cool. Phoenix Tactical in Newark, Ohio. So that's our gun shop today. If you ever want to recommend a gun shop, let us know. You can email us at dailygunshow@gmail.com. Anybody else want to talk about anything else tonight?
Actually, I'd like to tag something onto the daily gun shop topic, if I could.
Sure.
So, like we just looked at a shop that, Pink was talking about. This was started up by one guy. It's his shop. He's not a big corporation. And that's what the vast majority of gun shops are or were. They're run by families. They're run by individuals. Every now and then there are collaborations of friends who run them. And they really do rely on the support of their customers and of us in general. And this particularly hits a hard spot with me because I just found out yesterday that a gun shop and a range that I used to go to when I lived in California got forced out and closed. So, that for everybody who lived in the central San Francisco, Daly City, Colma, that whole peninsula area, they now no longer have a gun range. They no longer have, they're now down to one gun shop in that whole area that is actively selling firearms, but they no longer have a gun shop with a range in it. So it's important that we support those local shops if we want to see them stay up and open and be there for you. It's important to support them. And we lost what was a great gun shop. It was small, called Jackson Arms in South San Francisco. They were good people. They'd been there a long time. They helped get a lot of people into shooting, but they just couldn't keep up with the big box market that everybody was going to. So support your local gun shops.
So it was financial. It was not a big developer coming in looking to buy land to put in houses.
No, they got put out just because they could no longer afford the rent and everything over there, is my understanding of it.
Okay.
They just couldn't get enough support. And it's ridiculous because, they were a place that was always busy. They were always busy. Everybody went there for the range, but they just couldn't get enough support. And I can understand the frustration, difficult when people come in with all their guns they went and bought at the big box store or the stuff they ordered online. You know, it's saving $20 on a gun because you got it online is not worth. It's worth paying the extra $20 to that gun shop. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, but that's an example of a one-time sale. It's the repetitive sales that gives them money, and typically in something with a higher markup.
My point is, Dano, is that these family shops, every dollar counts.
And that is true. But it's the time you going there again and again and again for whatever accessory, boxes of ammunition, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah,
like repetitive sales.
Like I'm saying, and you know, I bought ammo there when I lived out there, even though I normally had to pay $2 more per box per ammo. But that was fine. I was willing to pay that extra $2 to help support those local businesses. So just remember, sometimes when you think you're getting a great deal, is that $2 or $5 that you're saving really worth it, or would you rather keep that out there to make sure we keep these family gun shops open?
Well, that's, you know, that goes into another related subject that I think is important to talk about. And as an example, I'm willing to pay more at my local gun shop than I am online, but there is a point of which I'm not willing to pay, and that's not 50% more. So it does kind of depend, and I'm not, and this is separate from the issue you're talking. You're talking about a particular gun shop, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the point of the line between buying something online and buying it at your local place. Yes, I want to be the guy that supports the local place, but we all have a pricing point of which we think is a reasonable cost.
Okay, so $100. No, let's say $400 item, because that's more realistic if it was a gun or something. $400 item. How much are you willing to pay at a gun shop? So your answers can be $420, can be $450, it can be $500, it could be $380. So a $400 item, and that doesn't necessarily mean retail. That's like how much it's going to go for most places that you've talked to people online. $400 item, cycle count.
Well, there's two things about buying at your local gun shop. First of all, they don't charge you for the transfer. And for me, that's a minimum of $25. Even if I go to my really good guy who supports my my marksman's club, he gives us a $25 transfer, and then you got to pay shipping, and shipping is typically $25. So yeah, you know, up to $50 more for a firearm, $400 firearm. I would consider that because that's what I would pay in shipping and transfer charges anyway.
Wait, how much was your price then?
So I would say $450.
Okay. Dead horse? He refuses to answer. Gary?
Well, I was trying to think about that. I've gone as much as 25 or 30 over. If I take into account how far I'd have to drive, and the city taxes in a big city are a lot more than where I live too. So I'm really not saving that much money by driving 30 miles to save 25 or 30 bucks. So I could see the 50.
Yeah.
That'd be about all I'd want to do.
For a $400 gun, $50, sure. And I say $450 minimum. I might be willing to pay slightly more than that.
Dog?
For the privilege to actually get to handle the gun and know that's the gun I want before I buy it, I'll be more than happy to spend 50 to even possibly as much as 100.
Sorry, I just got back from using the restroom there. I would rather have I would pay a lot more on that to have a gun in my hand. Visually see the gun I'm getting before I actually pay for it.
We're looking for a number. So far, the average is $450 for this $400 gun.
I'd probably go up to 5.
Oh, and then pink.
Yeah, anywhere from 450 to 5. One in the hands better than 2 in the bush.
The correct answer was 420 because that's 42. So I think that's 42 times 10, so that's like 10 times the correct answer. But no, I think you guys are right. It's worth a lot. I've definitely paid more for smaller guns, for less expensive guns, paid more because usually it's because it's the one that you can only get that kind of stuff sometimes when you find it at a shop. You can't even. It's the stuff I've been looking for with the Saturday Night Specials and that isn't the kind of stuff people put online. So even if I wanted to find it online, even if people were selling it, they don't think to put that stuff online. So it almost takes discovering it out places.
Yeah, so you're willing to pay a little bit of a premium because they're guns that don't show up that much.
Yeah, that it actually existed. I'm thinking of a laser one I bought that I can't even imagine how many of them even exist. And although I'd rather have bought an old beat up one, I paid way too much for this fancy one just because it was something to help complete a collection, and I don't get a choice. There are just not that many of them, and I figure sometimes you figure there's always a potential you're going to find one from somebody who doesn't know what it is or doesn't care or wants you to have it cheap. That'd be great. That does happen, but there's also people out there that think theirs is made out of gold and it's the only one that exists, and somehow you owe them something extra special just for purchasing it from them. And I won't purchase from people like that, but I will pay full and a little bit more when it's the only one available and the people aren't, they're aware of what they got and they know that it's worth what it is and they're not going to go down on it. I'll still buy something once in a while.
Yeah, and let's be clear. No one's saying go in there and get ripped off just because you want to support your local shop. But just understand that local shops do have to charge a little bit more.
But there are good local shops and bad local shops. I mean, I have two local shops here, and they both are very reasonable. When they take a gun in on consignment or if they buy a used gun, they don't double the price. I mean, they look for a reasonable profit. And because I shop there a lot, the two that I shop at, I typically get 10% off the ticketed price at a minimum. So, and that's good to have those guys around. But unfortunately, because of the kinds of guns that I buy, typically it's unusual for them to have them in stock. That's one of the reasons I go to Wanamaker's is because, Christ, you can find just about anything you ever wanted to buy down there. Whereas, locally, and I notice this a lot in the central states, trying to find like milsurps that haven't been buggered up for as deer hunting rifles is really tough, and so you got to buy what you got to buy. But my two local guys are very reasonable, and like I said, you gotta factor in the shipping, and you got to factor in the fact that when you buy a gun in a gun store, they don't say, okay, and now give me another $35 for the transfer. And that's significant money. I mean, you're talking, $50 to $70, depending on how much they charge for a normal transfer.
Another issue is if you buy something from a local guy and you immediately have an issue with it, is he going to try to assist you in working it out, or is he just going to point you straight to the manufacturer and have hands completely off? Somebody who's willing to handhold you or assist you with the issue is worth a lot more to me than somebody who just says, well, call the number in the owner's manual, as if I bought it online.
Yep. And again, those are all services you're getting from, or you should be getting from a local shop. You're not going to get those from your big box stores. You're not going to get those from an online retailer.
And that goes
if it's a brand new gun, even a local gun store will say, look, your best bet is for us to ship this back. Because obviously the manufacturer warranties his product, and it's a burden on the local gun store to make something right with a brand new gun. So I don't really have a problem if I buy a brand new, brand spanking new gun like a Ruger or something, and I have a problem with it, and I bring it back, and they say, "Look, we're going to send it back." I don't really have a problem with that.
Oh no,
there's a lot of
any shop said, "Here's your brand new gun with a problem. I'm going to work on it." No, I don't. I'd be more skeptical of that. Like, you're sending it back to the company that built it to make it right. It's under warranty. I don't want somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to do anything to this gun that's under warranty. Let it go back to the people who know how to work it.
But
Right, but certainly with used guns, you definitely want to deal with or doing stuff like I bought a new gun. I wanted a bullseye gun, rifle, and I wanted to put a scope on it, and they offered to set the scope up for me. And that was great. I didn't have to, because I don't do that kind of stuff. And it was great that they had both of the shops that I deal with have internal smiths. And if you need that kind of service, they're right there. And if you buy something used and you have a problem, they're right there for you. And that's a real advantage.
I think there's another advantage too, is you may be buying a specific model of gun that they're fairly experienced with and that they've sold a lot of, or that they might own themselves, and they might be able to tell you right off the bat, hey, that SIG you're buying, like we found that this brand A of ammo shoots really, really good out of it, right? Like, and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of firsthand experience there, and little tips and tricks that they can give you on guns that you might not get at, the guy behind the counter at Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, typically speaking, when you're talking about the mom and pop gun shops, you're talking about people who shoot. When you go to the big box store, that kid behind the counter took his test and got his little company certification. He might have never fired a gun in his life. So that experience is one of the things that's nice in many gun shops.
We started out talking about how much we're going to spend over, the general accepted cost of something to make our local gun shops a couple extra bucks, or to, keep the money local, or whatever the concept is. I think there's something to it where it all depends, I guess, on the size of the town or the number of shops you have available to you. But depending on what you're doing, I've had this experience, at least as a collector. Cycle might, I don't know the other guys, what kind of guns you're buying or what kind of quantities, but at least as collector or as somebody who's looking for a specific thing, if you buy stuff at your local shops, that's like literally the way to encourage them to buy it again. And on the other side of that, somebody sold that to them. They either went out to like Wanamaker, where shops from all over the country will come to Wanamaker knowing what shops all over the country are going to be bringing and looking for, and they'll do all their swapping back and forth as FFLs to each other, behind the scenes, and before the show even happens, before and after, the event opens for the day. So, they're outsourcing stuff. They know what people are looking for. You can come in 100 times and say, I'm looking for a Winchester so-and-so. But if you come in and buy one or two or three, guess what shop is looking for Winchesters for you? You're an established buyer at that point. So depending on what you're looking for, revolver something, there's those people that collect or that acquire, and it's like, I'm only going to find the one perfect one ever. And then there's people that'll step their way up. I can get this 1911. It's not the exact one I want. I'm looking for a World War I, 1911, but I'll buy this World War II 1911 A1 off of this shop, knowing that somebody sold it to them, and that means that person might be motivated to bring their next 1911 to this shop. And all the people that are, at home have 1911 at home and are paying attention to this consignment 1911, if they see it move at that shop, there's something to that, and you want to be part of that cycle. You want to be part of that, economy there. And if you just sit around watching those transactions happen or never take part in them, you're only going to see what other people do. If you start buying stuff and then, okay, a better one comes along, you trade, you sell yours, now you're part of that whole collectors community or whatever, and you start to get a seat at the table. Is that the way to say it?
Yeah, you get to have a little influence in that shop when you're a regular. You're very right.
Yeah, I mean, if that shop's got a certain amount of time to spend at the next gun show they go to, or somebody comes in with 6 guns and they're going to buy, 3 of them from them, they're not sure about that 4th one, but heck, you've already bought 3 of those Winchesters. Sure, let's take a gamble. Let's buy that Winchester. Now you're seeing a new Winchester because of your past purchase history. Whereas, that shop might have said, well, I know one guy's going to come in and ask if I had this Winchester, and he'd certainly like to look at it, but he's never bought nothing, and I can buy 3 more of these Colts instead. And that happens a lot. You can't imagine how often an old guy will come in with his own collection, or widow comes in with their husband's dwindling collection. And, here's my list. Do you want to buy anything from it this week, this month, whatever it is, this tax season? I need to sell stuff. And the shops will know, this person's going to come in with this list of Winchesters, and they're going to want a little bit more than, I'm really comfortable to just buy them all from them. But again, if you've got a customer who comes in and they're just buying every Winchester such and such that you're acquiring, then that's going to give that shop a incentive to buy some stuff that you're interested in.
Yep.
Pawn shops a little bit faster turnaround.
Very true. But yeah, again, like we all said, there's all these different reasons and things that you're only going to get in these smaller gun shops, and especially like when you're getting somebody new into firearms, it's a lot better if you can take them someplace where they're going to see the same people behind the counter regularly to help answer questions or to help them with their ammo selection or their next gun choice when you're not around, versus taking them to some store where, the next time they come in because they have a problem or because they're looking for advice on what to buy, what's the likelihood that they're going to see the same person? You take them to some big box store, or you buy them something offline.
All right. Well, if anyone wants to throw anything else in there, feel free. Otherwise, we got a question a bit ago from Centurion. How many rounds do you guys put through a gun before you'll carry it? For me, like a Glock or something, probably 300.
I'm probably about the same with you when it comes to the striker fireds, and then I usually put about 500 through a 1911.
I only buy guns that are good if I'm going to carry it, because that's what he said, right? Before you'll carry it. So if I'm going to carry a gun, it's only going to be a good one, and I'm only going to shoot it to make sure, something didn't get through quality. So I'm just going to give it a bit of abuse, and I'll throw it around, beat on it a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh,
If it's
a couple hundred rounds, easy, and then it's got to excuse me, it's got to cycle my carry ammo, because with the a lot of carry ammos have trouble feeding through some guns. So
yeah, that's an important point. I think most of us do that, but don't necessarily think of it out loud. But yeah, that's important to mention that. And I would certainly go with the, if it's to me a known entity, that a brand and a model that I'm already familiar with, such as the Glock brands, around 200 rounds, if there are no issues, feeding or ejecting. If it's something that I'm not as well familiar with, at least 400, and then it has to be at that point where I'm not having feed or eject issues. And as Pink mentioned again, it's feeding, and then that's with the ammo that I'm going to carry. That it's zero malfunctions is the only standard.
yeah, because I bought a 938 SIG 938, and it ran carry ammo all day, but it was having trouble feeding my or it was running range ammo all day, but it was having trouble carrying my feed ammo, and it's because of the shape of the carry ammo. So Yankee had told me to buy the what is that, Hornady with the red tips or whatever, the extreme defense or whatever, and it started cycling that. So
Yeah, it's an important point. Some guns don't like certain brands of hollow points.
Yeah, I don't change carry guns. I mean, a lot of people change carry guns like they change their shirts, but I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 main carry guns. Any one of 4. I have one that I carry all the time, but I have up to 4 that I might carry. And when I went through those, the first thing I did was pull a owner's manual, and if the owner's manual suggested a break-in period, I shot that minimum numbers of rounds as a baseline, and then I shot a box each of the 3 or 4 different kind of carry rounds that I was interested in. And if they went through those okay, then if they hiccup, then that carry round was off the table. But if they went through with the carry round okay, then usually I would go through 2 more boxes. And whether it was a 25 round box or 20 round box or a 50 round box, usually it'd be another couple of boxes. So once I get through, once I selected a carry round that was going to be okay, I went a couple more boxes in that. And if they cycled, squeaky clean, then I would consider that an okay gun to carry. So I'm not necessarily into the hundreds and hundreds of rounds unless the gun required. I had one gun where they suggested you put at least 100 rounds through it to break it in. And so I did that. And then on top of that, I went through the testing with the 2 or 3 different kinds or 3 or 4 different kinds of carry rounds. And I've actually sold off quite a few boxes of carry rounds because a lot of them, they just don't work in the smaller guns because I like smaller guns, and a lot of those guys just do not cycle well through a striker fired semi-automatic at all.
So then, if you're going to go through that kind of testing where you go through the factory break-in and then you go through with each of the carry rounds, and like you say, 3 or 4 per caliber, it sounds like, how many times can a gun fail with different ammo before, like, in other words, if it fails with one kind of ammo out of 4, okay, you don't use that ammo. If it fails with 2 different kinds of ammo out of 4 or 3 different kinds of ammo out of 4, where do you draw the line and you say it's not the ammo that's not working with this gun, this gun isn't working for me?
It would have to fail at least once with every kind of ammo I tried to put through it.
Wow.
As soon as I find an ammo where it just runs and I don't get a failure, because remember, I don't put just one box of ammo through. After I think it's working okay, I'll put another box or 2 of that same ammo through it again.
Yeah, but for me, any issues, any glitches is an indication that gun's finicky, and I don't have any time for that.
As long as one's ruled out a magazine issue, like the feed lips of the magazine, like, gee, I only does jams or whatever when I put in this magazine A versus magazine B. It never jams on. And you may have a magazine issue.
Jams. How many classes you've been to?
Right, but that's atypical. I mean, you generally can tell. Because if you're shooting a couple of boxes of ammo, you're going through all the same magazines again anyway. You can tell what's hung up and what's not hung up. And you're right. I mean, I have had, like my little DB380, I had trouble with that, and it turned out I had one bad magazine, and every time that magazine came into the mix, it hung up. But we're all smart enough to figure that stuff out, I think.
But it is good.
You definitely have some ammo that just will not. Like I have. I hate to say it, but I have, what the hell's that gold stuff?
Gold dot?
Shit. Yeah, gold dot. I have a terrible time with gold dot ammunition. I've had 3 or 4 guns where that shit just would not cycle. Ugh. And I don't know if it's got to be the shape of the projectile. It just gets it. I get failures to feed. It won't go in a battery, and jams up, and it's just Spear gold dot sucks as far as I'm concerned. I hate that ammunition. I have a terrible time with it.
Sounds like it's picky about length and width and the steepness of feed ramps, different feed ramps.
Right, and I think it's because they're smaller guns. I think smaller guns are they tend to be kind of fussy. And to be honest with you, I end up using the old Federal 90% of the time. That shit loads like a son of a bitch. That's good stuff.
Yeah, the funny thing is about that SIG 938, it wouldn't even run the SIG branded ammo.
That is a little funny.
But anyway, that's my mechanism is shoot the minimum manufacturer's minimum requirement to break the gun in, I usually take it through 3 or 4 kinds of carry ammo, and then when I find one that works real well, I'll do at least a box or 2 of that on top of that, and it's got to run flawless, or I won't carry it.
Well, I mean, we've all been looking at this and talking about this so far from a mechanical aspect, but from the human aspect, especially for new shooters, it would be advised for them, like Cycle was saying, to try a couple different types of carry ammo, because there's a big, there's not a huge difference between the feel in certain guns, but some guns will react differently depending on how hot the ammo is. And that's where the shooter preference comes in. It's a good idea for them to think about that, because if they bought, some defense ammo that was plus P plus, and their accuracy disappears because of kick or whatever, then it'd be good for them to take that into consideration during that break-in time before they start carrying it.
Well, I'm going to do 2 things. After I yawn, I'm going to say, I keep forgetting to do this at the beginning of the show, but it's Free Patch Friday. And we wouldn't be here online or on gun channels or any of this stuff if we didn't have people supporting our projects through either Patreon and or the Gear website store. So every Friday at the Gear website store, we say thanks to anybody who purchases anything. No minimum orders, no coupons, no codes, no nothing. You get free patches. And we've had quite a few people order today. Really appreciate that. And we want to say thanks by doing a bit of an extra bonus today. So even though really a bunch of the stuff went out because it was purchased before the mail went out, a lot of that stuff's already in the mail. But we're going to do a random thing later on at the end of the show. And then I had some packages that I had set up with stuff trying to raise funds for the tour before I left in September. And I was noticing that those bags are still set up. So I'm going to send one of those bags out to somebody. We've had a lot of purchases today, and that's awesome. That's what keeps us going. So it's an easy way to say thank you. And anybody that wants to jump in on that, we got a bit more of the show. But since we're talking about breaking in guns, we've been talking about the performance of the machine, but there's another aspect to it, and I'm going to throw it back. At what point do you feel that you, the human being, are comfortable with your interface with that new gun? So assuming that it's a new frame, new platform, new size, whatever, how long before you feel you're comfortable, or is it a number? And then you could do that in number of rounds. So as if it's your initial break-in period, if that's enough for you to be comfortable that that gun's going to work for you, or does it seem to be less or more cycle?
2 targets.
So by the time you shoot targets, you know if that gun's going to work?
Yep. It's either, for me, it's by the time I'm on my 2nd target, if I haven't got that gun to perform the way I need it to perform, if I can't hit what I'm pointing at when I'm, consistently, then it doesn't take very much time for me at all. I don't waste a lot of time on firearms that I don't shoot well.
Okay. Dead horse?
I'd say about 2nd mag.
Okay.
Is where I know, like, hey, this gun's gonna work for me. Like, it's shooting well. Not the mechanical, like how reliable the gun is. Just like if that gun's gonna mesh with me, I know pretty quick.
Okay, Gary.
Sorry about that. I'm kind of like Dead Horse on that. You know pretty quick whether the gun feels good and whether it's working good. But as far as getting used to it, I also like to, since I'm a pocket carrier, I like to actually carry it around the house for a while and get the feel for it, because every gun feels a little bit differently if you pocket carry. And make sure it's still comfortable for you to get around and everything feels right. Unload it, get it in and out of the pocket a few times, get used to that too. Everyone's going to be a little different in that respect. Don't go into it cold, but at a certain point you get comfortable with it.
Yeah, what's that point though?
I think that's different for every person.
That's valid. No, that's valid. That's a tough question because it's going to be different for a little revolver than a big dip gun or whatever. Dan? Okay.
I was gonna say, and how much experience you have with, maybe a lot of guns in general. Because if you've shot a bunch of, let's say, snub-nosed revolvers, chances are the next one you get's not gonna probably be much different than the 10 you've shot before. You know what I mean? So, if you've shot a lot of guns and owned a lot of different guns, then I think that it lessens that time. If you're getting something like a snub nose and you've never had a snub nosed revolver before, yeah, that's going to take a lot longer to probably get used to and to mesh with, right? Than if you've already owned a dozen in the past.
I guess that's valid. Dog body?
So excluding the mechanical, which is what we were talking about before, in terms of like me being comfortable with the platform to carry, 30 minutes of draw practice and at least 2 days of carrying it to see how I like the feel.
Oh, that's interesting. So I corked Dano there. So pink?
Again, you worked me.
I mean, a point of letting people know.
I can usually tell on the first mag. I mean, if I can't hit what I'm pointing at,
all right,
in that first mag, then yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Now we'll go back to Dano.
Okay. First, the way that I view it is, and everybody can start laughing at me now, is my gun, my holster, and me, the three of us are kind of like dance partners. We all have to be in time with each other, okay? And it all starts with the draw. It does not matter how accurate you are with that gun if it gets tangled up in your shirt when you're attempting to draw it to save your life. So I've got to be comfortable drawing it and being able to clear the clothes that I normally wear until I feel. So it's performance based. That's step one. And step two is with that draw combining the firing. Is can I repeatedly hit the type of accuracy that I am accustomed to getting with my other concealed carry guns? If it's subpar, then the answer is no, because it's performance based. If it's equal to or greater than, then yes, it's ready. But it's strictly performance based. It's not time based. It's not number of shots based.
Well, that works because I'm going to do the same thing, so better. So,
have you had any training or what?
So I also agree it's performance based. So I don't know. I mean, I look at firearms the same way. I think I might look at vehicles or tools or something. I would use a Jeep for some jobs, and I would use a Ferrari for other jobs, but I wouldn't use a Ferrari where I would use a Jeep, right? So I look at the machine first, and sorry, but Glocks are the machine that have the reputation of working, and I can shoot any gun. It's the interface with the gun is just how you grip it and shooting it. So I can't imagine shopping for a vehicle by which vehicle has the comfortablest seat or the fanciest dashboard, and then applying that vehicle to whatever job you needed to have to be doing. If you happen to jump into just like a Ford truck and it's comfortable for you, and that happens to be a good all-around vehicle, then great. But I don't like the idea of having to have a gun fit my hand, because my skeleton is different than somebody else's skeleton, and what might be comfortable for me is not going to be comfortable for somebody else. And that doesn't, a gun doesn't just come to our level of expectation or our level of need because it's comfortable. So I look at it as which is the most dependable, useful tool, and then buy it and then shoot it. And then I shoot them. Well, I don't know. I haven't switched guns. I guess I'm kind of a FUD in that direction. I don't buy a gun to carry it for some other reason and then try to shoot it, try to learn how to shoot it. Except for the Ruger. I haven't really strayed from Glocks in a while.
Do you guys have a mean number of rounds without failures that, like let's say you have a gun that you like to carry and it malfunctions, 1 out of every 500 rounds. Like, is that like, oh, that's still okay for me to carry, or like, no, that's not good enough. It's got to go 2,000 rounds without a malfunction, or you know what I mean? Like, is there a mean number of rounds that you look for, before you'll carry a gun?
0. If it's a gun's fault, like exclusively the gun's fault, 0. Like if there's a problem with the gun, then it's out of the rotation and it's getting a new gun in there.
Yeah, my carry guns. Once I settle on a particular piece of ammunition, if that gun malfunctions again, it's out. It's off the table.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Once I have a gun and I've made sure that the malfunction was not somehow user error, that gun's out of rotation until I can figure out exactly why it did what it did.
Yeah.
And even then I've got to put it, once we get it, if I think it's a spring or something, once that's repaired, we start the whole process all over again.
But ideally, you're paying attention to your perishable parts, your springs and whatnot, so that you're replacing those with preventive maintenance before they fail and you ever have malfunctions due to that kind of thing.
Yes,
so
ideally.
Something else like a worn part or something, those are harder to anticipate, but that shouldn't. Again, you're going to change a barrel before it wears, so those kind of things are, those are, what do you call it? Like terminal. Like if there's a problem where it's just a weird glitch, it's getting sold. But I haven't had that with my guns.
Yeah, and you're right that there's also the issue with magazines, because the magazine on a semi-automatic is the part that fails the most often. And if you get the type of malfunction that indicates a magazine issue, I might take the magazine out of rotation, but I won't necessarily down the gun. Exactly. If it's running fine with all the other magazines.
Then you blame the mag or the ammo or something, is what I was thinking of too. Yeah, magazines for sure. You mark your mags. That's one of the reasons you mark them. As soon as you get a skeptical, you try in a couple of guns, it's out of there. Throw it away.
Yep.
You raised a very good point, I think, and I know I do this for training, but I don't necessarily always do it, and I have it with my carry guns only because I've been to training with my carry guns, is marking your magazines, so that if something goes wrong, oh, that was magazine number C or F or 2 or however it is you mark them, and the next time it malfunctions, what magazine was that? Was that the same magazine or a different magazine? Because then you can start, it helps in the diagnosis as far as, is it magazine related, is it ammo related, or is it gun related?
Yeah, my primary carry gun is 3 magazines and they're all different. So I don't have a problem with that, because one's a plain flat magazine, another one has a pinky, and the third one is an extended. So it's pretty easy for me to tell which one is which.
And I like that because it goes back to it's performance related. I don't care if my magazines are from 3 different manufacturers, as long as they all have 100% performance.
So go ahead, Doug.
No, go ahead, Horse. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Cycle brought up a point earlier about like how he's had several guns, small guns that didn't like gold dots. Does anyone here have like a very specific brand of like self-defense ammo that like that's your brand, that's all you use in your guns? And if you get a gun that doesn't run that specific brand, then are you like, oh nope, different gun, or do you just switch to another brand of ammo that gun runs reliably?
I'm close to that point with Federal HST. I'd be willing to, as example, if the gun didn't run Federal HST, to try a box of gold dots, because that's another brand that I'm very confident in. It has a long history of performance.
I keep notebooks for most of my guns where I log like maintenance information and whatnot. So if I find that a particular gun absolutely hates a certain ammo, I usually notate that to make sure that I don't buy that ammo and try to load it into any of the magazines designated for that gun.
Use Gold Dot because it's cheap, because the Border Patrol uses it, and it works. So I'll switch.
Well, I don't know about Gold Dot being cheap.
When the Border Patrol's using it, we get it at bulk.
Oh.
Now, I have a question, because it was brought up about marking magazines. Now, does anybody have a particular way that they like to mark magazines? I like to have my magazines marked for their specific gun. So even though I have, a bunch of magazines because I own a couple copies of the same gun, each of those guns has their own designated magazines for it.
Yeah, I do. For example, for my Glocks, I use a system of its capacity dash and then a number. So, example for my 15 rounders, which are the Glock 19, it'll be 15-1, 15-2, 15-3, etc. So I can just look at it from 10 feet away and tell it, oh, is that from my Glock 19, or is that from my Glock 26, or is that from my is that a range mag that's 17 rounds, which is actually for a Glock 17 that I don't have, or is that something else?
Well, I was referring to more like if you actually own two copies of the same gun. For example, I carried two Glock 19s for years for work, and I had those magazines marked out specifically for which gun each magazine was for.
I've never had two of the same gun at the same time, so.
Come on.
But I run my magazines like from my 10 rounders, my 15 rounders, my 17 rounders, all from my Glock 26.
So we're going to take a quick poll. How many copies of your carry gun do you own? Cycle.
Now I feel bad because I have one, but I'd like to have two.
Okay, Dead Horse.
My main carry gun, just one.
Gizzard.
Just one.
Dano, we already know. Dog.
Currently 3.
Yeah, but I have interchangeable magazines.
Think.
I've got one copy of pretty much, both of my carry guns.
If it has the same fire control group, does it still count?
I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's the same, if there's a certain amount of swappable parts, so if it's like two models of Glock, I guess you could almost say they're the same.
Yeah, because I've got 2 9Cs, 2 9s, the 9 long slide, and the magazines in every one of those guns fits in all of them. They're all interchangeable.
Well, more than just magazines, though. Having a duplicate backup to your carry gun, what if something happens to your carry gun? You're going to have to switch some weird gun. So I think having a duplicate copy of your backup gun is always a good idea, if not a couple.
Well, but there's other ways to split that. Like I have 3 different carry guns. I have one that's very slim for like what I'll call summer carry, the Glock 43. Then I have a Glock 26 that's kind of like any time of the year. And then I have a Glock 19, which I can use in the wintertime or for what I'll call home defense sort of a thing.
All right, so maybe you could say the 26, the 19, but not really. And then we just only get a second of that other one. I think you should have at least 2 of the carry gun. The way I feel. I had 5 of my old carry guns. With the 41, I can't afford it, but I will have a second one eventually.
Well, and the reason I raise the question is because a lot of times that's how I determine whether or not a magazine is a problem for the gun. Because I'll be like, okay, this gun's having an issue with this magazine. I'll use it in its copy gun. That if that gun runs it, then I know something's not wrong with the magazine.
All right, so we're going to do another poll unless somebody wants to throw something else in there on that. Joseph was asking, do you carry a secondary gun? Cycle.
No, I'm one gun kind of guy.
Dead Horse?
99% of the time, yes.
Gary?
If I'm in a car, I'll have one in the console besides the one I'm carrying on me.
Okay. Dana?
Well, until I lost, or I shouldn't say lost, but left my concealed carry vest in a hotel room, I used to do it all the time. Now I just carry one.
Doug?
There's always vehicle guns, but as far as on my person, anytime I'm working, I always carry 2 guns.
Pink?
Yep, always 2. Wintertime, I usually have a 45 as a backup, and then whenever I travel, I carry that 43.
I also like 2. 2 is 1.
yeah, like if I'm going to die in some kind of gunfight, it's not going to be for a lack of shooting back because of a gun malfunction or something. And I've read from several different credible sources that have been in like multiple gunfights and stuff like that, that, you know, like weapons in your hand are very likely to get hit and disabled in a gunfight in people's hands and stuff like that. And, you know, that's a common thing. So if you're in some kind of gunfight, you know, defending life and liberty, and your gun, your main, you know, polymer pistol gets hit by a 9mm round and renders that pistol completely inoperable, I don't want to die because I only had one gun on me, like, you know, one source there.
Yeah, see, I'll take that a step further, because not only do you run the risk of a gun becoming unoperable, what if you let's say that you're right-handed, you pull from your right hand, and at the beginning of that gunfight, you get shot through the wrist, and that hand's out of commission. A lot of people have trouble reloading, a semi-auto gun or even a revolver one-handed, especially if it's with their offhand. It's a lot more effective if you have a second gun that's ready to go that you can grab with your offhand.
Like the New York reload, right?
Yeah, basically. And it's also one of those things that a lot of people go into the assumption, assuming that depending on the scenario, you might not be the only person in the room on your side. And having a secondary gun that you can pass off can make the difference for you.
That's what I was just getting ready to say.
A lot of times you'll be in an alley and having some kind of a standoff with the bad guy, and then they'll get the drop on you and they'll make you drop your gun on the ground, and then the standoff goes on a little ways, and then maybe they're grabbing the sack of money or whatever, and that's when you can pull out your second gun.
There you go.
Also, yeah, that's true. It can provide them with the false sense of security, like, oh, he dropped his gun, like I don't got to worry about this guy now, right? Or I took his gun, right? And yeah. That's a very good point.
But seriously, it's easy enough to carry a gun on your waist, and then pocket guns are pretty small. So depending on what your normal stuff is, depending on what you got going on, I personally, in my experience, I've never been in a gunfight. I plan to never be in a gunfight. I don't even have any scheduled. And I have used my guns or my second gun because, let's say, one time I was out at a nuclear missile silo that this guy owned, and he let me shoot on it. So I was not going to not shoot on this silo when I had the opportunity. I could clear my one gun out and not have to worry about putting it away empty because I had a second gun. So, if you're just out doing something and you get a chance to recreationally shoot, you've got the ability to do so. And I've done that 100% times more than I've ever had to been in a gunfight with an extended, battle or anything.
Something that Doug mentioned or talked about that I think is extremely important, and I know I don't do it anywhere near enough as much as I should, and that's practice not only offhand shooting, but shooting one-handed and, reloading my magazine from the holster with my offhand and, racking the gun with my offhand either off of more than one surface in case I can't use my other hand to rack it, i.e. my belt, the back of my shoe, or whatever you have available, a piece of furniture, the side of a building, whatever you got to do to get that thing racked and up and going. And it's something that I don't practice enough, and that's a criticism of myself. But I think it's something that, we all, because if you don't practice it, I mean, you can have it all planned out in your head exactly how it should go. But you got to go through, just like a baby learning to walk, those awkward steps and feeling awkward, with your offhand, and it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel comfortable, to get to the point that you can at least maybe reach the level of adequate. That's the goal. I mean, you'll never get great with your offhand. I mean, maybe some people can, they're ambidextrous, but at least maybe the goal is to be adequate, if not better. And not everybody's capable, but at least as capable as you can be.
At the very least, you're familiarized with the motor skills.
Yes. I can actually reach over to my other side of my hip and insert another magazine in that gun, not using my primary hand. You have to prove it to yourself that you can do it. watching a video of seeing some guy in the video do it doesn't mean that you can. You have to prove it to yourself to get that confidence that I can't do it. But it's going to feel awkward and it's not going to go smooth. But it will get better.
I don't know how we mansplained our way over into this, but we started out with accessories. So I'm going to bring it back over to another question coming in from Psycho. Thinking of picking up a smallish, medium tactical EDC shoulder bag to try. Anyone got brands to look for or stay away from? So a smallish to medium EDC shoulder bag.
I don't have any preferences on brand. Just remember that there is a fine line between a deal and you get what you pay for. Make sure that the gun carrying compartment is quality and preferably has good trigger guard protection.
I'm going to throw Xvert out there.
What?
Xvert.
Right with that one.
That's the one that I have. That I've got the messenger bag and the laptop bag.
Right on. So X and then VERT.
Yeah. The inside of it is like a felt, almost like that's where I attach a lot of my patches to. So if you get one of the holsters that have the backing on it, it'll hold a holster right in its place.
And I think Pink has an important point, because I've seen a number of different ones that tend to run the gambit from carriers that are meant to carry a gun and will also hold other things, and ones that are meant to hold other things and, oh, by the way, will also carry a gun. Now that may sound weird, but it's the priority of how it was designed. And the setup that Pink is talking about happens to be one of the better ones, I think, that's out there.
I'm only going to buy stuff made in the USA, so very compliant stuff made for our guys. I don't know about EDC stuff, so if you're looking for like Maxpedition type stuff, I don't know, a long time ago when I first got into doing reviews, Maxpedition sent us quite a bit of stuff, and I've got experience with theirs and then a couple other brands over the years, but I'm not a big fan of the foreign-made nylons. They seem to be real brittle-ish. I don't know what the word is, but they make noise. Very compliant stuff means that it's sourced out of U.S.-made materials, and I don't know, the materials that they make U.S. nylon out of are quieter. They seem stronger, and when they're sewn, they don't fray. So I prefer U.S.-made materials, not just because I want to keep our money here, but I feel like the U.S.-made materials are better. And I'm just going to throw out there, like, the ones I use are Spec Ops out of Texas and SO Tech out of California, and then well, there's a whole bunch, but I would go with something made in USA.
Yeah, here's the one that I carry.
The messenger bag I'm carrying now from Spec Ops, I got in like 10 or 11, and I use it constantly, and it looks brand new. So if you're gonna end up liking the bag, then you're gonna end up using it for a while. I was ultimately frustrated back in the old days when I would go to school and I didn't pay no attention. I would just buy whatever school bags were in front of me at the store, and every once in a while you'd find one that you really liked, but inevitably they'd fall apart by the end of the year, right? Like the material, you know what I'm talking about, the nylon starts to fray at the seams because that material itself just isn't substantial. It like starts to fray, and either you'd have to patch it up a bunch of times, or you just have to give up on it and buy another bag. And these things change so much that it's frustrating. If you end up liking the layout of a bag, trying to see, the layout, the designs change. So you'd have to either go on eBay and buy an old one or something. But that's why I like buying the decent ones. And then if you end up liking it, you've got it forever. If you don't like it, you got some resale on it.
Pink, I got a question about yours. Can you access the gun without having to open the whole thing?
The large handle right here, it kind of hangs down freely. Yeah, so if you reach back, you're always going to be able to grab that and find it. And what I do is I just yank it in front of me to where the whole bag just kind of slips in front. You pull that zipper open, and that's where your that's the compartment your gun is in.
So we're going to end up talking. We are going to be talking about bags a lot in the future here. So if people already have videos up, start gathering them. If you've got some bags that you've had experience with, consider doing some videos, and we'll have some fun with that. Because one of those things that seeing it on the shelf or seeing it on the hanger at a store is one thing, but getting experience from somebody who's used it and the pros and cons, and if the bag, the little pouches are useful or not, is a whole other thing when you talk to somebody who's actually used it. Which zippers wear out, which straps are perfect, or which things last forever and which don't.
So I don't have any experience with man purses and carrying guns in those, but I did get my wife a concealed carry purse thing from the NRA called the hobo bag, and it was kind of expensive. It was like almost $200, but it looks like a nice leather purse. But it works good. Like, I mean, it looks good, works good. It's for a woman, I would recommend that hobo bag because that's the only thing I have experience with, and it's just like a leather. It looks just like a leather purse. As far as like the man purses, I don't know. I can't say anything about this. I've never used one. I've just always used just like the cheap, backpacks that fall apart every year. I should probably invest into it in a good bag, but I've never. I don't think I've ever owned like the nicest backpack I've ever owned, like a $30 backpack. So I've never owned it with like a quality bag.
Just thinking about it, I was thinking back to when I was working at a office and would take my bag in, and it was just going to hold some stuff 99% of the time. It was just going to, having it organized and everything, it was just going to hold stuff. I wasn't really going to get into it and use it very often. And now I don't really carry that much stuff, so I'm just looking for a big empty bag. A messenger bag is perfect for what I need it for. But it's probably use specific, is I guess what I'm getting at. It depends on how you're using this thing, what you think you might need it for.
Yeah, I want to clarify that. Hobo, Hobo bag. Hobo bag.
Gotcha. I'm not looking so much for a merce or a messenger bag, more like a backpack that only has one strap. Yeah, we had those from Maxpedition. We got the kind that were, I don't know, maybe like a deflated basketball size. They weren't real big. And Joe's wife ended up taking them as purses. She really liked them as purses. So you could hang keys on them and put stuff in all little pouches.
So I was used to carrying like a laptop bag for years. So, where you have all sorts of stuff, shoved in there in different pockets and stuff. But I did a couple of those reviews on those LAPG bags. I didn't check on the nylon if it's US or not. That's something I need to look into.
But you're saying those bags were good though, right?
I've just recently got them. I got them within the last month or so for the giveaway for the blind challenge. So I've been kind of going through two of them. I haven't really carried. I took the small one, which is the bailout bag. I actually took that to the range yesterday. I think it was yesterday, day before. Anyway, so it was nice. It was a lot nicer than the bag that I had been carrying, which was just had two small handles and carry around no shoulder thing. But it kept everything separate, and it seemed to be nice. I didn't use the because it's got like a tearaway Velcro portion so that it kind of opens up as like along the top for a wider pocket, you know, and it's the felt inside, so you can use like the Velcro holsters or something in there, you know, to kind of conceal something, because it kind of goes along the seam and you don't really see it. So it does, you know, kind of hide it a little bit, but it is a really aggressive Velcro. So I don't know how long that will last, you know, as far as hard to pull, but it has a small pocket with it's basically a flap for the top pocket is extended a little bit and it's reinforced. So that's actually, you know, you just grab a hold of that and pull it open. So I don't know how, you know, I mean, if you're in a situation, I guess I didn't use it as that. It was just more just going to the range. So, but hopefully if somebody wins them, they can do reviews on them too.
Man, there's so many things. So back in the day when I was really into hiking and doing stuff, you would take a bag like that and you'd fill it full of like stuff, shoes or like tennis balls or something, and then you'd put it in a dryer and run it for a while and see what it looked like after. So I don't know if people are doing tests like that. Well, I don't like to say there's lots of stuff we can get into. We're going to have some shows specific on gear coming up in the future here. I was just going to say the Maxpedition stuff, what bugged me about it was all the little pockets and things. While they're interesting and it definitely lets you stow stuff, it's like a whole nother thing of stuff to try to remember where everything's at. And I end up buying Sharpies all the time, so I keep forgetting. I'd find Sharpies constantly because I forget where I'd stow them, and then I'd literally forget where I stowed them, so I'd have to go get another one, stow it somewhere, forget where I stowed it, and then eventually go unpack a couple of bags and have like 6,000 Sharpies. So just stuff like that gets annoying. Back in the day when we didn't have bags with a million little pockets, we would do sub bags. So you'd have like a big bag with basically a big compartment, and there wasn't such a thing as Molly yet. So you would just have smaller bags inside of there, and one of them would be your this, and one of them would be that. You know, you kind of have them compartmentalized either by color or shape or whatever. And that's a whole nother thing to think about, having a discussion about like how we arrange our bags, how we use them and stuff like that. But in an effort to cut it off, because we've been chatting for a bit, I'm going to say, is there anything else? Patriot jumped in. Looks like, I guess you're the one that jumped in. Pink jumped in. You guys have anything that you want to talk about that we've been talking about tonight? Or add to what we've been talking about?
Well, I just wanted to add that the Vertex bags, they actually have their own origami where you make your own carriers for your mags and stuff like that. That's the material that holds the holsters right there.
Sort of like a Velcro tortilla, and you can wrap up your own magazine burrito.
Yeah.
I like that. That's nice looking.
Is
there a material?
Is what?
It's sort of like a cross-shaped piece of hook Velcro on one side and loop on the other. And by the time you start to fold the cross shape around a magazine, like a baby in a diaper,
okay.
It creates a it creates a pocket for whatever it is you shape it around.
And that's
if you were to go drop some money on a high-end bag, is there a certain material that you would recommend over everything else? Is there like a really it's this certain Cordura or nylon or Gore-Tex or whatever it is, like that's what you want to get, you think?
Cordura is like is a number of stitches, so like 500 or denier Cordura or whatever. Cordura is, I guess, the material. Denier is, I guess, the other thing. So when you look at it, you're going to see like a number, like a 500, 1,000, 250. 250 is like a windbreaker. 500 is like a duffel bag. 1,000 is like, a really thick backpack or a shell on a really thick jacket, like a Carhartt jacket or something. So basically, you're going to want to get used to the number thing and then figure out what you like. I've got a couple of backpacks that are really soft and are made out of good US nylon, and even though they're soft, they're super strong, like stronger than a parachute. Then I've got a couple that are made out of 1,000 denier, which, like I say, they don't even wear. Like, you can't hurt them. I guess if you fell off a motorcycle onto them or something, or parachuted out of a plane into a building or something, they might get abused, but that's almost like one step down from being Kevlar or something. It's super, super strong. And then that's the only thing I'd consider is real nylon.
What about leather?
No way. It's too heavy.
Fair enough.
I mean, I guess it depends. I'm thinking cow leather. So if you're talking like African goat leather, what they make baseball gloves out of, but I've never seen anything like that.
I mean, if you compare the wearability of leather as compared to the wearability of Cordova 1000 and the weight differences between the two, I'm thinking
African animals are supposed to have like amazing leather because they live through crazy extremes. But like I said,
they also tend to be endangered, but
yeah, exactly. I don't see stuff in like fancy whatever African leathers or anything.
Elephant skin.
Well, I was thinking it might be advantageous for certain people depending on like if they're carrying to their job or something to have a bag made out of leather versus nylon. If they had a type of professionalism type of look.
Like in a look class, yeah.
Now, is it an issue? Like I've been into all sorts of stores, libraries, movie theaters, where like they have signs on the doors like no backpacks, bags, da da da. Like I've even been in like stores, you know, like kind of like department stores. They're like no backpacks, bags, da da da. So like, is that really like what kind of issue does that throw up to? Like if you rely on that as your like carry, like that's your go-to thing.
I think if you're not like a 17-year-old, they don't care. I've never.
They don't care. Okay.
I mean, I haven't ever had them say, "Hey, sir, let me have your bag."
Yeah, I've never been stopped going into a department store with a bag, even if they had one of those signs.
Yeah, I don't know. I never have a bag on me, so I don't know. Like, I never get asked because I never have a bag. So I'm just wondering, is that like an actual thing, or is that is it just like mainly like they do that for the kids, or what?
Well, as long as your bag isn't completely empty, and then by the time you're leaving, it looks like you're carrying 500 pounds. They're not going to say anything.
But that's also where I think the look is important, because I think you're more likely, if you have something that looks like a JanSport backpack, you know, you're more likely to get hassled than if you have something that looks professional and serving a purpose.
So, like, what would happen, like, if you were in a store and someone, like, you were leaving and someone's like, oh, like, you got a bag, I need to check your bag or something, right? Like how would you handle that with a gun in there? Like, because you don't want to just zip that open and the guy be like, gun, or like, you know, I don't know, like how, like, is that a thing with those bags or no?
One of them where like Batman has, where you shoot it at the ceiling and it's like a zip cord and then it zips you up to the like,
I mean,
or whatever, and then zip out to a parking lot real quick.
I used to, you know, I always wondered about this because my wife has a purse that she carries in sometimes. And, you know, we've never been stopped, but I'd imagine that if they wanted to look inside her bag, it's not like they're going to physically take her bag from her. You know, she could just tell them, hey, okay, we're going to look in here just so you know I have a handgun in here and be prepared.
Yeah, I would be like, you're not.
But you want to let them actually take control of the bag and actually, like, you know, grab the gun, right? Like, you want to let them.
No.
You have an obligation not to give somebody else your gun, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm willing, as long as I maintain control at all times, show them what's inside, but they're not allowed to be poking or grabbing or taking it, period.
That's where it brings up the pockets and stuff that are more hidden, where it's not something that's visible. I mean, obviously, if you get...
You mean inside the bag, like a hidden flap or a place for the gun to be zipped away?
Yeah, well, there's some that have, you know, like I know some of the purses, my mom was looking at them, where like the bottom, there's like a seam or something that might have like spring-form metal, kind of like one of those old coin purse or something, you know, where it kind of, if you put tension, it'll kind of open up for you, but it's not going to spring open by itself. Maybe you know, or Velcro or whatever, where it's more of a hidden pocket. Because I know they have them for the inside, you know, where it's like a seam or something, and it, you know, I guess I don't really look at purses, I guess, but.
Do any of those lock? Like, does it actually have a locking zipper with like a little key?
All the ladies got to do is put their carry gun into a box of like tampons, and then we.
I just got another bag today that I put out a video. It's a little cheap Allen bag. It's actually my stepdad's, and it looks like almost like a little book briefcase, or one of the small laptop bags. It's just got 2 handles on it. It doesn't have a shoulder strap or anything. There's one pocket on the outside, and you unzip it. I mean, it's super narrow, really thin, and it's like felt on the inside. It's got 2 sleeves that you kind of slide, from both ends kind of to the center. And I mean, to carry it, you would look like, I don't know, a traveling vacuum salesman, or a preacher or something with the something that you would keep a book or something in, like a planner. It doesn't, I guess I don't know what it really looks like. I think it's coyote brown or something, but there's a lot of bags out there that don't look tactical, that don't have the molly and straps and extra pockets dangling off the sides.
A lot of people have like a tablet in one of them, like big ass leather hand purses things you're talking about.
Yeah, and one side can have your all your cards and a tablet in there, and the other side has just kind of a flap that just happens to have a handgun with the the holster built in or whatever. This one was just a cheap one. I tried searching it on Amazon. I couldn't find out which one it was, but yeah, I doubt seriously it's good nylon though.
Who's to judge you if you get like a hand rubbed leather strap for that and then wear it around your shoulder? Your business.
Yeah, no, that's I gave it back today, so
we got a lot of people out there saying they're checking out to go hunting. We're recording this on a Friday night, and I guess it's deer season everywhere, so good luck on your hunts. Looking forward to people posting pictures of whatnot. We kind of started wrapping up there, but again, we're probably running almost 2 hours, getting closer to 2 hours than 1 hour anymore. So I appreciate everybody that jumps in. We do a late night show here. Our goal is eventually to have a noontime show, and we'll be kind of commenting on those noontime subjects at this get together, this panel discussion at night. But until then, I appreciate everybody that's been patient with the craziness of the schedule and the concept of this show, and the people that stick around and give us the thumbs up over there, even the usually 3 or 4 people that give us a thumbs down. So that, like I say, seems to draw attention to the shows over on the YouTube. Thanks to the people over on Gunstreamer who can now take the show. As soon as we post it and it renders into a show, it gets pulled over to Gunstreamer thanks to their automated system over there. So not only do we have it on a better platform that doesn't hate guns, doesn't hate our culture or our lifestyle or us. It's a platform that encourages the participation in content creation that's focused on Second Amendment stuff, and it happens automatically. So Gunstreamer is pretty cool. So I have a duplicate copy of the show automatically thanks to Gunstreamer's awesome technology. In fact, the people that run Gunstreamer were in the chat earlier today. Ashley was in the chat commenting over on the YouTube side. So a lot better than the people at YouTube. I don't think they jump into chats, and if they do, they're probably not gun chats. But again, thanks to all the people that have been purchasing stuff over at the Gear Website store. We did have a bunch of people buy stuff today. It was the first day that the Firearms Inventor playing cards are available. And a bunch of people jumped on those. And let's see, looks like we're at... This is exciting.
I can feel the tension building.
1, 2, 3.
Did you have a giveaway to do?
15, yeah, that's what I was counting to find out. Okay. So 15 orders today. Appreciate that from Free Patch Friday. So that's a whole bunch of extra stickers and patches and whatnot that'll be going out. But more importantly, it's paying for all that patches that we bought. So really, really, really grateful for the people that participate in keeping our stuff online. And I'm heading over to random. And where do you put the number? I'll even screen share. Oh, wait. Let me move some things over so that nobody has to see anybody's name or address. So when I screen share, I will get, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means it'll be one way or the other. When I call on you, you can say up or down, and we'll just go back and forth. So cycle.
Up.
Dead horse.
Up.
Gizzard.
Down.
Dano. Dog. Skip. Patriot.
Down.
And Pink. It's a tie right now, right?
Up.
Up.
Oh no, it's definitely up. So from the top, I'm generating it here.
Did you ask Cycle Camp?
Yeah, I was first. Up.
I generated it and it said 1. Now it said 2. So I guess it is tending to the top. So I'm gonna have to go with the from the top. I don't know if this is a setup or what, but it's Cycle Camp. So thanks, Cycle Camp. You jumped in at the last minute there and grabbed one of those last sets of Gun Channel's Tulsa cards. And awesome. Well, you were at Tulsa, so that's super appropriate. And
Yeah,
you're
cool.
getting a bunch of extra swag to kind of replenish all the stuff you were handing out of the table, I guess, at the Tulsa show. But appreciate it. In fact, I'm going to do it again just because it's on the table here, and I know there's going to be people out there thumbing it down because they think this is some kind of elaborate scam. I'll do another one. So let's just do the bottom this time. I'm going to refresh it just to make sure everything's legit. 1 to 15. We'll go from the bottom this time. 13 from the bottom is the same as 2 from the top. I have to go back over here. Oh,
Yeah,
scary.
that virus I put in your machine's working good.
That is because it's Gary. So you and Gary have obviously gamed with the system, but that's awesome. So thanks again, guys, for participating and again keeping some money in the coffers to keep all the engines running. So that's enough of that. It's Free Patch Friday. Thanks to Angelina, who is out in the chat. I don't know why she doesn't jump in, being a co-host of the show and all. You think she'd jump in once in a while, but she does provide us with all the stickers. And it's awesome to have stuff made in the USA of high quality. And we just got a bunch of that stuff in today. So got stickers to match the lever action rifles and the chairs against the walls, and they look awesome. Much sharper color than the last stuff I had coming in. So anything else anybody wants to plug? We got Travis in the morning with Caliber Corner. Got Rick for Rick's Life as I See It, and I can't keep up with what's happening on Saturdays because it seems to change, but it seems like a couple of 3 or 4 shows try to happen every Saturday. Oh, I have a QA with our Patreons tomorrow. I put up a poll and everybody wanted to do it on a Saturday, so I'll probably post something to remind people tonight and do that. Probably it.
Is Rick's Life still mid-afternoon?
It's like 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. It's 3 to whenever. He's supposed to do a longer show. Everybody wanted it. He's just going to go almost to 2 hours or whatever first. Just kind of feel it out. I believe Gunsnub has his show tomorrow, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's a couple.
9.
He does his last, I think, or does Sarge?
Ben Snub and sometimes Sarge too. So.
Sarge does his. He said during the day because I think he said this week he's working nights, so that's why he was doing his show on Thursday in the afternoon. But I'm not sure about Snub. So, well, that's what it's all about. Well, that's why we got a news feed over there on Gun Channels, and anybody's welcome to start something up. There's usually some kind of live thing going.
All right.
All right. Well, anyway, you guys have anything else? Otherwise, we will wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody, for jumping in.
Well, I'd just like to say thanks for having us, G. For those of you that are out there watching this on other platforms that are into guns or want to learn more about guns, come on over. Join us at gunchannels.com. Friendly community, lovable people. Ask your questions. We love to answer. And if you're interested in talking about dogs, join me at muscledogmafia.com. Send me questions at muscledogmafia, and I'm more than happy to do a Q&A once a week on dogs.
Very cool. I've been doing like on Saturdays and Tuesdays, trying to set up a workshop, just setting up like a regular live show and then just hanging out there. So far it hasn't worked. Nobody's showed up, but I figure that's the way to get people aware that there's a conversation going. I don't know if that works for you or not, but maybe like set it up, 5 p.m. someday or 7 p.m. someday, and then just start letting people know this is the day. Because I've been putting out there like, hey, if you want to talk about how to set up a project, let me know, and no one does. So I'm thinking the other way to do it is to, hey, I'm going to be here at 3 p.m. Tuesdays and Saturdays to talk about that. Show up. So I don't know, just give me that.
I got to get emails by Friday, so that way I can spend the weekend researching some people's questions, because I answer them all Monday.
And I was going to say your business card looks pretty cool. I like how you got Doberman on there.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, so anybody else want to say anything? Otherwise, we will see you all on Monday, I guess.
I do believe Mr. Knives has a live late night lobby going right now.
Oh, snap,
if anyone,
really?
if anyone wants to jump over there, links are on the front page of Gun Channels, and everyone and anyone's welcome.
Guys of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.